Hi guys! Today I'm going to be talking about the books that I want to read in February. I just want to preface this. The structure of this TBR is a little bit different than last month's, so I've got a stack of books that I definitely want to read. They're all kind of like a theme, and then I have a stack of like books, like alternates, so in case I get kind of burned out on the theme, I can kind of switch it up and do like a palette cleanser sort of situation. So I might not necessarily get to all those books, but I wanted to leave those as like an option for me to take a break and do something a little bit different. So because it's February, I wanted to read a bunch of romance this month. Last month, I didn't read much romance at all, or like even books that had a romantic plot. I mentioned in my January wrap up. The one book that I thought was gonna have a little bit more of a romantic plot didn't, and that was very disappointing. So I've been kind of in the mood for something a little lighter and fluffier. So I kind of just yanked a bunch of the romances off my TBR shelf and was like, this is my list of February books. So starting off with a brand new release, I think this came out last Tuesday, and I'm really excited about it because it's got a lot of really good reviews, but it's The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I've not read this author before, but the premise sounds so fun. It's about this woman, Shay, who works for public radio. She pitches this idea to do a talk show between two exes giving relationship advice. And her bosses are like, great, let's do it. And instead of getting an actual ex couple, they end up matching her up with a coworker that she does not get along with. And they become the co-hosts of this show. So they basically have to fake a romance, fake the fact that they dated. And the show becomes a really big hit, and they have to keep up this lie. And all the while, they're kind of discovering they don't quite hate each other. So I just thought that sounded so cute. I used to work in television broadcasts, so like radio broadcast sounds like a really fun time. And I'm really excited about this one. I might pick this one up first. The next book I pulled is Well Played by Jen DeLuca. This is the sequel to Well Met. It has the same cast of characters, but this one focuses on a different female main character because the couple in the last one got together. So this one follows Stacy, and the plot of this one and Well Met revolve around this town's Renaissance festival that happens every summer. And it's such a cute setting. I loved it in the first one, and Stacy was also in the first one, but she was more of a side character. So in this one, she's looking to find love, and she thinks she's texting with the guy who's like in a band that plays at this Renaissance festival. The band's called The Dueling Kilts. And when they're in person, they don't really like there's no spark, but as she's texting this guy, there's something there, and so she's excited. But I believe it's kind of like a catfishing situation. Like, it's not actually the guy in the band. I'm a little not worried, but I feel like a catfishing thing can kind of be hard to redeem, so I'm curious to see how that goes. But I really liked the first one, so I have full faith that this one is going to be awesome as well. Next up is another romance. This one is my favorite, Half Night Stand by Christina Lauren. I really like Christina Lauren's book. I don't know a whole lot about this one, but I picked it up because I loved The Unhoneymooners and In a Holidays so much. So I'm pretty much willing to read like their backlog now. I believe this is like a friends to lovers situation. The main character, Millie, is like one of the guys. She's got this group of guy friends, and I think she ends up hooking up with one of them, but then they decided to just stay like platonic. And I don't know much beyond that, but again, I really like Christina Lauren, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. Next up in my stack of romances is another newer release, and it's called How to Fail at Flirting by Denise Williams. This one has to do with a woman. She works for like a university, and her whole department is like on the chopping block basically, and to deal with it, or to take a night off from the stress of all that, she decides to go out, get drunk, have fun, and she ends up hooking up with a stranger, and it turns out they have a great night, and she goes to work the next day, and it turns out this guy is like her new supervisor. So it gets a little complicated. I think this one also has kind of like a more serious backstory, having to deal with like an abusive ex-boyfriend. I'm hoping that kind of gives something a little bit different. It's not quite as light and fluffy as the rest of these reads, but I've heard this is good and it sounds really fun and interesting, so I'm excited to read this one. Last up in my stack of contemporary romances is Take a Hint, Dani Brown. This is the sequel to Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, and it's her series about the Brown sisters all finding love and stuff. The first one was really cute. I really liked the humor in it, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I've heard, from what I've read about it, I feel like I might actually like this one a little bit better. I did like the first one, but the tropes in this one are a little bit more fun for me. Dani Brown and this guy end up having to be in a fake relationship for appearances, and I don't quite know the context of that, but that just sounds fun, so I'm excited to read this one. I also have a stack of graphic novels I want to read this month, and starting off, I've got, I don't know if this is The Daughter of Wise or The Daughter of East. I looked up for the pronunciation and I cannot find it. This is stunning. I flipped through this at the bookstore. This is also a hardcover, which doesn't happen a lot unless you get special editions of graphic novels, but I was flipping through this book and just the art, you can't really see that all that well, but the artwork is stunning and the colors are beautiful. I don't know, I was so drawn to this. I don't even really quite know totally what it's about. The impression I get is sort of it focuses on the daughters. They're the princesses of this Atlantis city. And reading the little blurb, it says it's a reimagining of a classic Breton folklore. So I'm really excited to read this one. It's definitely one of the prettiest graphic novels I think I've ever bought. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. And if you've watched any of my previous videos, you know I'm currently reading Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. I love this graphic novel series so much. This is volume 4, and so I want to read this one this month. I've blasted through the first 3 novels. It's just such a fun adventure. It's beautifully illustrated. This is one of the highest ranked graphic novels on Goodreads. I think the series itself. It's really popular, which is why I picked it up in the first place. I love everything about this. They've all been 5-star reads for me. I'm really excited to read this one. I've ordered the entire rest of the series, and I'm gonna try to pace myself and just read this one this month, but I might pick up the next one if this one leaves off on a cliffhanger. I also picked up the first volume of another graphic novel series, and it's called The Wicked and the Divine. This volume is volume 1. It's called The Faust Act. I don't know a whole lot about this other than it's gods among men sort of thing. The little blurb on the back says, every 90 years, 12 gods return as young people. They are loved, they are hated. In 2 years, they are all dead. It's happening now. It's happening again. So that sounds really cool. I love the whole gods among people sort of situation. And this one is a little more I feel the reviews for this are a little more all over the place. It's beautiful, but what's happening? So I'm curious to read it for myself and gather my own thoughts about it, but I'm really intrigued. It sounds really cool. So now we have our stack of alternates. As you can see earlier, most of the novels that I chose as my main reads this month are romance novels, and I really like romance novels, but if they all tend to kind of follow the same sort of formula, they get together, there's this big blowout. Are they gonna get back together? Of course they do. It's a happy ending kind of thing. I get a little burnt out on that, even though I do enjoy that. So in case I need to take a breath of fresh air, cleanse my palate, I picked up a couple other ones. So starting with it, they're fantasy romances. So should be a little bit different. It's still romance, but it's in a more fantastical setting, and I like fantasy a lot. The stack that I have is not currently very fantastical, and I do enjoy reading fantasy, so I feel like I'm gonna pick at least one of these up because I like fantasy so much. My only fear is they are all the start of a series, so if I get really into it, I'm hoping I don't forego my whole TBR pile in case I get really into one of these. And the first one is a very hyped book, From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I have heard a lot about this book. I've heard it's really good. I've heard it's really bad. It's definitely controversial. I feel like you either love this or you hate it because it seems to be very romance forward, and people who are looking for more of a fantasy plot are disappointed, but the fantasy is more of context. It takes a backseat to the actual romance. And I don't know a whole lot about this one other than it's about a woman named Poppy, and she is what is known as a maiden in this universe, and she's not supposed to be touched, she's not supposed to be looked at. I don't know exactly what starts this change where that something else happens. I know she has a bodyguard named Hawk. So it's about a woman named Poppy, and she's what's known as a maiden, and she's not supposed to be looked at or touched. She's supposed to live a very, like, solitary life and remain, like, pure. And she ends up getting a bodyguard, and they end up having, like, a thing. I don't know what makes her forego her maiden duties, but this is really popular right now, so I want to get on the hype train and figure out what this is all about. I think there are vampires in this. I don't know. It sounds a little bit all over the place talking about it, but I'm intrigued and I want to be in the know. The next book is another first book in a wildly popular series, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I've never read Sarah J. Maas. I know she is wildly popular. She's got quite a few series going, and I wasn't quite sure where to start. This felt like the safest option because her other series, Throne of Glass, is like 8 books long, and that's too much of a commitment for me right now. This one sounded interesting though. I know it has to do with like Fae, and the main character, Feyre, gets like kidnapped because she kills a wolf that is actually a Fae, and so it's like some sort of crime and she's taken prisoner or something. I don't know. I heard a lot of things about this series. I know very little about it given how popular it is, like details and stuff. I've heard Tamlin, whoever that is, sucks. I think he's actually the love interest in this one, so I'm curious to see how that happens. And I think if I do read this one, I've also picked up the second one in the series in case I'm like, I need to read the second one after I finish this one. I think if I read this, I want to do more of like a vlog style video, getting my reaction to reading like, you know, Sarah J. Maas for the first time or Court of Thorns and Roses for the first time. Because again, it is wildly popular. And yeah, so I think it would be fun to do like a vlog reading this and doing my live reactions to it. Next fantasy romance set up as a rotation option is Serpent Dove. This has to do with a witch and a witch hunter, and they end up married for some reason. And the witch knows he's a witch hunter, but the witch hunter doesn't know she's a witch. So sounds fun, sounds like high stakes. And I've heard the main character in this is really funny, so that sounds, you know, like a fun time. And yeah, so hopefully I would like to get to this one this month as well. These next two are kind of like completely different genres, and I don't know why I don't quite know why I put them in the pile, but they just spoke to me. They've been on my TBR shelf for a while. Maybe it's because they're pink and it's February. But the first one is Sweetbitter by Stephanie Danler. This has to do with like a waitress in New York City. The blurb makes it sound like a very intense experience. I've heard the writing is a little pretentious. Again, this is another you either love it or you hate it sort of novels. But I'm curious, and I love this cover. I know that's probably not a great reason to buy a book, but I was very drawn to it. In case I need something just different, this is one of the options. And lastly, we have The Lovely War by Julie Berry. This has to do with the Greek gods, specifically, I believe, Aphrodite and Ares. And Aphrodite is like on trial. She like sets up these couples during wartime, and it follows those couples as well as this trial with Aphrodite. Again, I don't know a whole lot about this. It's more of like a historical fiction because it takes place during these great wars. I know Haley from Haley in Bookland really likes this book. I think she said it was her favorite from 2020. So I'm definitely intrigued. The cover's beautiful. It's pink. It's giving me February vibes. I don't know. So if I can get to this one, I think that would be a lot of fun to read this month. All right, and that's the very large TBR I've got going for this month. Again, I probably will not get to all of these. Last month, I think I did a really good job of actually reading everything I set out to, but this one is a bit more of like a loose thing. I'm gonna go more based off what my mood is. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a really fun month. I love reading romance. And it's funny because like my boyfriend and I don't really even super get into Valentine's Day or anything, but I love a good romance book. I love like the warm fuzzies. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a great reading month. Drop a comment down below about what you're reading this month. If you're reading any of these books this month, let me know. That'd be cool. And have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.